Hello, welcome to Porn and Politics. I'm your host, Ashley Steele, and today we are going to do a little segment I like to call Truth Talk, because it's the truth, yo. So today we are talking about the secret about welfare that the establishment does not want you to know. So first, let me talk a little bit about what welfare is. It was established in 1935 as part of the Social Securities Act. So it was part of the same entitlements, as they like to call it, which are probably in a little bit of danger right now, and I'll tell you why later. Welfare is done through the Health and Human Services, and basically what people refer to as welfare is actually temporary assistance for needy families, or the TANF. I don't know if that's what it's supposed to be called, but anyway, it's temporary assistance for needy families, and it always has been and still is actually purposed towards helping children. So when they established it, it was to help children whose families were not making enough money to support them. And to this day, that is exactly what it is still used for. So it is not a program that pays lazy people to sit on their ass all day. It's not some able-bodied dude sitting on the couch drinking a beer, watching TV, and living off the government. That is, and never has been, what welfare is meant to be, and it is not what it actually is. So the Department of Health and Human Services actually releases their data every year. In fact, I think they release it every like 6 months or something. So the most recent data is from March of 2017. But you can go back years looking at their data to see what the truth of it is, and I want to share some of that with you. So for just the federal program, so I didn't include the state programs, which are very similar in numbers, mind you, but just the federal program, so the Federal Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, which when it was established, where is it? It was actually called Aid for Families with Dependent Children. But they don't like to use those names because that basically tells you what it is, which is that it is a program designed to help families and children, not to just give people free money. So it's a huge misconception that we have right now in the United States regarding what welfare actually is. So I encourage you to go to the Health and Human Services website yourself and look at these numbers that I'm going to give you. I think that you should always not trust what people tell you. You should go and you should follow up before you repost anything. I think we have a huge issue in this country right now with propaganda. So websites will produce numbers, or they'll make claims, but those claims actually aren't backed up by evidence, and then people will share them and spread them. And so I've seen this happening a lot on both sides of, party lines. It doesn't really matter. People just believe what they're told, and the truth is that most of those things are not true at all. So let's get into the real numbers with Health and Human Services. So TANF basically has about 2.5 million people, and of those, I want to make sure I get this exactly right. Yeah, so of those 2.5 million people that are receiving assistance, 1.9 million, so almost 2 million of them, are children. Children, not lazy people, but children are the actual recipients of that money. So it's not the adult, it's the child. So that is 76%. 76% of welfare recipients are children. Do I need to say that again? 76% of welfare recipients are children. This is the data I'm looking at from March of 2017, but the numbers are pretty consistent all the way across. So that is a huge difference from what it's perceived as in the minds of regular Americans today. And I feel like it is so important that people realize what welfare actually is, what it's meant to do, and if it's actually doing what it's meant to do. Yes, it is. It is giving money to children whose parents are not making enough money to help pay for food and housing and school supplies, etc. Although most of these kids are actually under school age. 0 to 5 is a big category. Either way, so when we start looking at, okay, so how many adults are on this TANF program then? So 76% of children, 22% are adults, which is almost at 100% now. We're at like 98%. So 22% are adults. When you look at those numbers of how many of them are single parents, 85% of that 22%. So 85% of the adults receiving welfare are single parents, parents that do not have support from another parent. Either the parent passed away or they are non-existent. They're not there to help in any way. They can't reach them. They don't know where they are, whatever. So, I mean, there's all sorts of situations, but those parents are the sole provider, the only parent that is around taking care of that child dependent. So this is not some big conspiracy to get free money. These are mostly women who have a young child at home and who cannot make enough money to pay for childcare, let alone all of the other expenses that go along with it. And so a lot of these families, so you have basically, it's 570,000 adults, 490,000 of them are single parents, but that's between 1.9 million families. So it's only a small portion of the families that are receiving assistance that actually have a parent that is also receiving assistance. And that's important because that means that the majority of them are working parents. So you have a parent that is working, but they are not making enough money to pay for their kids' food or to pay for childcare for that young child, and so they're getting government assistance for the kid to help pay. So again, the majority of those families, the parent isn't receiving support, right? So that means that the parent is working. So there are, and then of course there are the parents that are receiving support. Now, when you get into this two-parent household, right? So you say, okay, there's one parent, single parents, how many of them are two parents? Because that's like, yeah, they're both there. So one of them can watch the kid and one of them can work. Now, there are actual work requirements in a lot of places, in a lot of states for that two-parent household. So between them, they're supposed to work a certain number of hours per week. So that actually does happen in some areas. But regardless, it is only 2% of the recipients are in two-parent households. 2%. And if you think about that, since it's a two-parent household, it's technically only 1% of the households because each of the parent counts. So that's right. So it's really only 1% of the households, but 2% because it's the two adults. So that's a tiny amount. It's tiny compared to the amount of families and children. In fact, if you look at the numbers, basically 50,000 adults in the United States, or 25,000 of the families, have two parents that are receiving assistance. And that's out of 2.5 million. 50,000 out of 2.5 million. It is the tiniest number. So, yes, welfare, as it is known, is actually a program that pays for kids to help them be able to get food, to help them be able to have shelter, to help them get school supplies, and helps a lot of working parents who cannot make enough money to even pay for those things, even though they're working full-time. And so it's meant as a supplemental program, and in the majority of cases it's used as a supplemental program. So now you know, right? What is that, like, the more you know, with the rainbow thing or whatever it was, I forget. But back in the day when I was growing up, it was like, I don't know, was that Reading Rainbow or one of those shows? I don't know, one of those. Either way, you know what? I feel like we need to spread this kind of information. And the really crazy part is that you can just go on their website and look it up. So it's not like this is some big secret, but people listen to the news. They listen to what the Republican Party and politicians and corporations tell them, which is that welfare is for lazy people that don't want to work. Because if they said, oh, welfare is mostly children and the rest of them, oh, my cat, I'm sorry, the rest of them are single mothers, then yeah, people wouldn't want to get rid of it. And people don't really want to get rid of it anyway, but there is a perception that people are abusing it. But the numbers do not say that at all. And the truth is, how are children abusing this system anyway? I mean, those damn lazy children, they should be out there working. Damn those toddlers. You know, I just think it's so ridiculous to even say that, but people don't know the truth. And so this is why I'm here. I want to give you the truth so that you know that when you hear those talking points, when you hear that rhetoric and that propaganda, you can go, oh, that's not true, you know, because people just believe whatever they hear these days. And so I hope that you look it up for yourself, do the research. Welfare is for children, always has been. And when the Republicans come and they try to take away your welfare, stop them, because that is the only thing standing in the way of 2.5 million people living in complete poverty with their family. So please, please share this information, get the truth out there. When you hear somebody spewing this kind of rhetoric, please stop them, correct them. Also, I think it's funny, a lot of people will say to me, oh, I know somebody that's abusing it. I know somebody. I mean, I can't say I don't know everybody that you know, but chances are you don't, because the numbers show a very, very, very tiny, even 2-parent households is a tiny number. The chances of you actually knowing somebody that is taking advantage of the system, that, you know, the only people I know, I mean, I grew up, I had a couple welfare Christmases myself. Like, we didn't have money. There wasn't taking advantage. You only get like $360 or something a month. Like, I don't know if you guys realize how little that is. Again, it's meant as supplemental. So if somebody is living off of that, you should know. If you really knew people that were on welfare, you would know how badly they're living, and you wouldn't be going, oh, they're just sitting pretty on government money. If you really genuinely knew people that were on those programs, you would see that they are not living in a great way. That is poverty. It is way below the poverty line if you're living on that kind of money as well. It is such a tiny amount. And another important thing to note is that there actually are lifetime caps for adults. So I think it's like 60 months or something. So literally, if you have a kid and you had welfare and then now you have another kid and it's been like 3 years, like, you can't get any more for yourself. It is only a child only. So there's restrictions on that as well. It's like a couple years and then that's it. So people who think that you're just living high on welfare forever, you can't. It's a supplemental program for your kid, and a lot of the times those kids are little enough to need childcare. And I'm sure there's a lot of working mothers that are watching this, or children of working mothers that realize, yeah, my mom struggles and it's hard for her, and you're old enough to watch this video, so obviously you're not a toddler. You know, so imagine or remember what it was like for your mom when you were growing up and she couldn't pay for stuff, or she wasn't able to leave you at home by yourself, or she had to find family members or friends that would even watch you. And not everybody has that. So not everybody has a situation where they can get help. And that is the whole purpose of what welfare, or actually temporary assistance for needy families, is for. And we need to make sure that we don't get rid of these kind of programs, because they are essential to keep children from starving and living on the streets. So please like, subscribe, share. I'm Ashley Steele, and you just watched my video. Please don't forget to subscribe and like any videos that you would like to see more of. Additionally, if you want to become a supporter of my show, you can click on the Patreon link below. I have a goal and a dream right now, which is to create as many videos as I can to counteract the propaganda and lies that are happening right now in the United States. I believe that through spreading information and sharing knowledge that we can get people to understand the truth. And so my goal is to spread truth. And if you want to become a warrior in that fight with me, please subscribe, share my videos, and absolutely become a supporter on Patreon if you're able. Thank you so much.